Rolling. Okay, and 5, 4, 3, 2.
Awesome. Hello, my name is Dan Moses. If you follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, or any of the social medias, to my complete disinterest, I am now doing what everybody else has to do in order to have an opinion, in order to be part of society, put themselves on camera. I am here at my boxing gym. I'm the owner of ISU Boxing, and I run a nonprofit called Second Round Redemption, where I don't get any funding, and I don't think the funding is helpful at all. We actually have $35 billion allocated to homelessness in California, yet we have increase in incarceration, increase in drug addiction, increase in homelessness. If we wanted to give every homeless person $86,000, we could have done that tenfold with the amount of money that we pour into it. Really, all that's happening is funneling money, making sure that our brothers and our sisters choose drug addiction, choose a low quality, a low standard of life. And I've developed this program that allows people like that to come to my boxing gym, where they can get mental help through therapy. They can use the boxing training to rehabilitate them physically, and they can get life coaching as well. We're also a church here, so if anybody wants to discuss the Bible and have an open, non-denominational conversation on Sundays from 12 to 1, you do not need membership in order to be there. Now, today I'd like to discuss something I think all of us can agree about, which is the economy being absolutely terrible, making quality of living very low, making the workload unbearable. And there's many things I've discussed in my podcasts before, but considering that everybody has labeled me some sort of misogynist, a bigot, a racist, a homophobe, I'm right back at you. Here we are today, where we live in a generation where we're lectured by homosexuals on morality, we're lectured by transgenders about biology, we're lectured by Satanists about religion, we're lectured by communists about economy, and we're lectured by baby killers about human rights. And so can't hurt that much in order to have an opinion and say what's on my mind. I'm also going to introduce somebody today who is part of my program. His name is Charles Walden. He was given a terrible sentence, and I'll have him explain his story to you. He's here with me today. But let's cut back a little bit to the economy, something that we can agree on. Obviously, this war between men and women, this war between homosexuals and straight men, and a war on biology, like as if there's that much to discuss. We are now prompted to just accept all of these things about our society. We live in America. We are a biblically founded country. Our founding fathers made sure that we were to follow the laws and moralities that are in the culture, on the walls, in the architecture, in our founding documents. And we don't teach people these things. We don't teach in our school system the Bill of Rights. We don't teach the Constitution, which, by the way, is a very, very small document. The Bill of Rights is barely a page. Declaration of Independence is about a page long, obviously a little more condensed. Same thing with the amendments. And we love to create all these different codes and regulations where, in my opinion, we live in a world that completely mirrors 1984. And for people who haven't read this book, it is essentially a dystopian future where people are guided by the screen, they're guided by the government to distort both the future, to hurt the sexes by making men and women hate each other, by removing all life from the home, by singling people out, very similar to what's going on. And it ends up resulting where a man and a woman fall in love against the government's regulations, because there's too many of them to possibly recount. And the man and the woman of the story who try to rebel against the government, they get tortured. They get tortured their entire life up until their old age, to where they're released, where essentially they want these people to be socially programmed to say what the government wants them to say. And that's exactly what I see. And so if you don't agree with me there, we can at least find some sort of common ground in the absolute bullshit that exists, that all of us need to suffer when it comes to making money, inflation, paying rent. So here are some stats to kind of bring together some of the ideas that I'm not pulling out of my ass. The first one is going to be that 76% of Gen Z cannot afford rent. This is a major, major issue. This is, again, pointing very much to the fact that people cannot be independent. They cannot get married. They cannot have children. It's shifting culture. It's shifting people's ideologies. It's isolating them. And it makes them very, very good voters, which is ultimately what the government is pushing for. 56% of millennials cannot afford rent. Everything since 2020, post-pandemic, has been raised about 20%. We're paying $7 for gas. We're paying $7 for gas, and we want to pretend that we have some sort of shortage on natural resources. The United States of America, it's a bunch of bullshit. And the list goes on. Let's talk about income tax, federal tax, Medicare, Social Security. By the end of let's just say that you made $1 million. 46% of that $1 million is going to be gone by the time you're paying off the government. So now your $1 million, which you had to work very, very hard for, you had to find a building, perhaps, maybe you run a business. We'll get into the exact regulations and codes that exist around that as well. But just on the base level, the federal, the state, the Medicare, the Social Security, bringing you up to 46% in terms of total taxes. So your $1 million just turned into $500,000. Then you have property tax. Property tax is not what you bought your home at. Property tax is what your home is valued based on the inflation of your house at the given moment, which means I could have bought it for $60,000, but if the government says your home's worth $2 million, I now need to spend 1% of $2 million at the end of every single year, which should point to the fact that you don't really own your own home. This puts us in a situation where the youth, people like myself, people who are younger than me, people who are older than me, are not able to buy homes. This is a major, major issue. And those who have homes are not able to sustain their homes. If you look at the socialist scumbag piece of shit that runs New York City, Mamdani, he is actually taxing people on their deaths. So he wants to collect people's things after they die. He wants to tax them unreasonably for all sorts of reasons, as if we're not already dealing with anything beyond sustainability. We cannot sustain this lifestyle. So you're looking at an unsatisfied young man who wants good things, who's unable to do so as an American citizen. I'm talking to my fellow American citizens. And these are my brothers and sisters. These are the people who live around me. And I've actually built something. So let's talk about additional regulations beyond property tax, beyond the state and the federal, the Medicare, and the Social Security. If you want to get a building to rent out, you can't just pay the owner what it is that he wants. You're probably going to have to go through a 75-page lease, more or less, between 30 and 100 pages for a lease, which is, I want to pay you for services, yes or no, right? Then I have to get building insurance. Then I have to get life insurance. Then I have to pay the Better Business Bureau in order to say that I have a business. Like, sorry, what about the fact that I hired employees? Like, well, you're supposed to look into, like, I need a license in order to have a business? How ridiculous is that? Anyways, they charge you whatever your gross income is by the end of the year. So if you make $1 million, they're going to charge you on a pro rata basis of however much you made. This is obviously adding on top of that already $1 million that you made is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. You have also LADWP. which is going to make you wait between 6 months and a year in order to give you electricity for your building, because they want to fine you over the course of that whole year. They want to make sure that they can charge you for everything that is put into an outlet, anything that you add to the building, which, by the way, adds value for the upcoming leasers and for whoever is renting the business to you. It's my building. You're going to make improvements on it. How does anybody lose here? But another excuse for LADWP to charge you on everything. There's regulations that make it impossible to actually build things out. By the end of all of this, you're looking at somebody who actually had the capacity to generate $1 million, who had the, how do I word this? Who had the heroism to provide for other people, and he is being severely punished. And he probably can't even afford a $2,500 apartment. And I'm basically speaking from personal experience at this point. And so I want to let people know that this is what it takes. I've done something that most people in politics have never done, which is actually build something, actually do something for their community. I really care, and I realize that my voice in politics doesn't matter. We're in a position where it's very simple. You don't need a PhD in economics to understand that a strong economy equals strong people, and a weak economy equals weak people. And that's the position that we're in. To kind of put this all to a close, I think that very much educates any of the listeners and viewers who might find this interesting that we live in essentially a communist state. California is absolutely disgusting, but I feel that there are millions of people who are feeling what I feel, because California is a beautiful land. It's not owned by Gavin Newsom. It's actually not even owned by the President of the United States. It's God's land. This is God's country. This is the America of the United States. And we need to, the people, liberate ourselves by speaking whatever we know to educate others, to unfortunately create some sort of rebellion, to create a shift, and to introduce the guest I was talking about. Like I said, I do help people in addiction, incarceration, and homelessness. This is why I know that there's tremendous, tremendous corruption in just about every institution. We have the Minnesota vote to make pornography for children. All the liberals have done this. I mean, how does this not make you sick? Like, are you just supposed to sit at home and suck your thumb? Like, sorry, can't do that. And the list goes on. We got 86 million, 79 million abortions a year. Nobody could pay rent. The government fines you for absolutely everything. What's there to lose? And so let's talk to somebody who I think very, very well represents that this 1984 ideology. And I don't know if I did mention, but 1984, this book that I summarized a little earlier, was actually banned in the USSR. The Soviet Union made it illegal for people to read these books. And the reason that is because people would understand that they were slaves to the state. It's the same thing that we do with the Bible. We've made the Bible essentially banned from the school system when it was the most consistent piece of literature in the school system for hundreds of years. And so let me just go ahead and shortcut to Charles and his story as I see him, as the man who was bent and beaten in order to bow to the state and their ridiculous standards. He made it out, and he made it out well. So let me go ahead and introduce you. Charles, go ahead and come on. Hey, good to have you.
Brother, how you doing today?
Absolutely. Go ahead and just introduce yourself, and tell the viewers how you ended up here today.
Okay. Howdy, America and the world. My name is Charles Emery Walden. I was born in Louisiana, a Negro and a closet Jew. I'm an honorably discharged U.S. Marine who served also in the Navy and was discharged under honorable conditions, but I received a discharge for mental issues. I had emotional issues. I was young, black, and angry. Felt that gave me the right to be an idiot. So I absorbed what existed around me, and I did idiot shit. I came out, I started to straighten my life out and came out to California because I wanted to be middleweight champion of the world. I wasn't out here 2 months. I was in prison the first time in my life ever. And I spent 48 years, 3 months, and 2 days in prison on a term that legally carried. And I have this in writing. If anybody in the world want to know, I have this on California Board of Parole letterhead on a term that legally carried 13 years and 25 days. My term was legally fixed by the board, set for a definite duration.
So Charles, you're telling me that you had a 13-year sentence and it got extended to as long as
48 years.
48 years.
3 months and 2 days.
As somebody who's reviewed your case, for the viewer's sake, there are 4 boxes worth of documentation, piles this high, the sort of thing that nobody would be able to go through. And the story is really what's important here. And so let's talk about what ended you up in prison in the first place.
I came to California, country boy. I came in reverse. Like Jed Clampett got his oil down in Texas and came out here. I came out here to make my career. I was a bad boxer. I was good. I was blessed. So I came out here. I had a young daughter. I wanted to, the American dream. I wanted to send her to college, to Harvard, Yale, all the dreams that Americans have. I wanted everything for her. So I come out here to fulfill my dream. Less than 2 months, I get in an incident where my life was involved. I was accosted by a gay man, and no was not an option.
So are you telling me that there was a homosexual man who was trying to rape you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Listen, men don't even like to say that shit. I'm a man. Who the fuck would think about raping me? This is what I'm thinking as a 20-year-old boy. Mm-hmm. But see me at 20.
Well, look, nowadays we live in a culture that celebrates homosexuality. So from the typical viewer's point, this is completely irrelevant. Mm-hmm. Just for the viewer's sake, so they have an understanding.
That's right.
Homosexuality was literally illegal. It was illegal in the country, okay? And nowadays we celebrate a whole month. We don't celebrate a holiday. We don't have a single day. We do a whole month. So obviously this is something that is pushed upon people, and you're talking about a negative attitude of it, meaning that there are gay men who even want to rape, to take you by force.
And let me be clear. I want to be clear on this. In prison, I met homosexuals whose word could be taken, who were trustworthy, who were, their sexual business is their business. I am not concerned. I don't want no part. Got nothing to do with me. But you can be trusted. You're honorable. You're respectful. So it ain't about homosexuality. It's about proper behavior, right and wrong. What's
human
good.
decency.
Human decency. And I got, listen. Y'all know me. You guys know me, the people I'm talking about. I got friends that, and look, I didn't know and when I found out, they didn't care because they were good people. So I'm not a hater of anybody. However, because I don't hate king cobras, does not mean I want you to put one in a room with me and lock us in at night.
Sure. Well, let's to keep the flow going smoothly so people can understand your story, because I already know it.
Absolutely.
This man tried to rape you, and in an act of self-defense, you had killed this man.
That's how I perceive it. I want to be fair because I'm 20 years old now, and I'm intoxicated on 7 or 8 different types of drugs, and I kick myself in my ass every day of my life because my grandfather taught me to give everything a chance to live, and I question myself every day. Man, if you hadn't been on them drugs, could you maybe have figured out something to escape? Could you have maybe talked this? Could you have done? I kicked myself to my ass.
And I think that's the right attitude to have, by the way, for the viewers as well. Obviously, there is no justification for killing, right? And obviously, it's something you've had to suffer through your whole life up until this point. But I think that people should know that you were fined 13 years for that offense. 13 years.
Documented.
And so I'm going to go ahead and present some documentation here. This was back in '75, so That was when he was incarcerated. And the latest date, he was given 2 parole dates, 1988 and 1992. So meaning that 1992 would have been the longest possible sentence for you to be in prison for.
Legally.
And again, for the viewer's sake, this isn't like a rant about homosexuality.
Not at
It's
all.
actually to talk about the corruption that exists in the prison system, because even in a typical murder with new laws now, they do not kill murderers. Savage murderers who should be put to death, they're not killed. And you can talk a little bit about your own experiences there. I'm going to try and cross-coordinate so the viewers are aware. We're in a position where people are trying to abolish prisons, whatever the hell that retarded notion even means, okay? Abolishing prisons. You can look into Scotland right now wants to abolish their prisons. Again, this is all to get mental health work. Somebody who's chopped somebody up and flushed them down the toilet, who's raped a woman in broad daylight, chopped off her head, some of the most horrible things you've ever heard, are getting away with 13 to maximum now between 33 and 25 years of imprisonment. There is no death sentence. That's our tax-paying dollars going to providing for these people, these murderous scumbags, in order to live. Now, the reason I don't necessarily feel that way about you is because I also do believe in forgiveness and that we can create a justice system that's actually fair. But the one that we exist upon right now is completely corrupt. And so let's talk about how is it that you were supposed to be out in '88, but you ended up coming out in 2023. So tell us that story.
I have, of course, documentation. 1985. In case, a lot of people wasn't born then, there was this thing going around called HIV/AIDS. And the one thing about it, when you caught it, there was no cure. You finna die. And it wasn't just death. You was gonna swell up, their shoulders, knees gonna look like watermelons, you're gonna shrink. It was a horrible death. Only thing that society knew about it in general was that male homosexuals seemed to be carriers. In 1985, I was at a place called California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo, a prison, with one-man cells. The cells were built for one human being, and they were small for one person. And because of prison overcrowding, because the Republican, at the time, the Republican administration had said, look, let's lock them up and throw away the key. We got overcrowded, and they just came in and put bunks on the wall, edges that would cut your legs to the bone. They didn't even file them off, just put bunks on the wall, and the next day you had a cellmate. You wake up, you got this much room between the two beds. So your legs gonna constantly be scarred because you're trying to urinate at night, by the way, by your cell's head. It was insanity. I got nothing against nobody, but I didn't want to put we did not know if the man could sneeze and I could get AIDS. We didn't know. Mm-hmm. And then there's other political stuff that the political people don't take into consideration. There's stuff in prison. Remember who's in prison. Mm-hmm. We ain't no bright cats. I had a cellmate, and I'm going to get back to my point, but I had a cellmate come to my cell and he was jubilant. I said, what's going on, homie? He said, man, I passed the test today. Man. I said, what happened? He said, man, the average is 2.4. I'm piecing together what he said. He said, I got a 2.9. This guy got a 2.9 grade average. He was 31.
As a GPA, okay.
And he was happy. And look, I ain't mad at him, but I'm saying we ain't no bright mother. So, stupidity is, for me, let me get to me. For me, I needed help when I went to prison. God blessed me because, man, I was confused. I was confused. Killing a man ain't no joke. That's not a small thing under any circumstances. And being raised as a Jew, I felt like I should have been killed.
Well, to make it clear for the viewers, by the way, if I were in politics, I would absolutely start implementing the death sentence to murderers. When you do not kill murderers who do awful things, all you do is tell people that they can get away with murders. There needs to be consequences to this, and we're filling our prison system, which doesn't work at all. To kind of help the viewers
Focus.
put together what you were saying and what I'm trying to bring to the table, which is you had gotten an offense back in '85. Is that correct?
Prison write-up. A write-up.
A prison write-up.
Rules
Correct.
violation.
We have the documentation right here, right? Rescission hearing scheduled for July 17, 1985. What he had done is he had refused to share a cell with a homosexual, okay, during the AIDS epidemic. Now, there is a law, there's tons and tons of laws to make it impossible for anybody to actually fight the government.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
the 1985 amendment says that if there is a recession hearing, which means that there is a misdemeanor in prison, that they can only extend your sentence anywhere between 12 months to 6 months, which would mean that he would have gotten out in 1988 all the same 6 months later. Unfortunately, due to this offense, they added how many years to your prison sentence? They added 35 years to a 13-year sentence, which means you went into prison as a 23-year-old?
I went into prison at 20. I got out 3 months before I turned 69.
You heard it. You heard it from the man himself.
Honorably discharged U.S. Marine. I got paperwork from the government when I went in, where they say, look, man, we don't think the guy's a bad guy, but he got mental issues, and we think that what he did was a result of his psychopathology. Mm-hmm. Man, I ain't trying to be no bad guy. I don't believe in that shit. That's why I was heavyweight champion in prison. Y'all know me. Come with that bullshit. I got you. Y'all know me. So I ain't no bad cat, man, but I ain't with the bullshit. I just told the truth, man. I don't want to catch AIDS and take it home to my family, kill everybody I know. I was afraid. Oh, I guess I shouldn't say afraid as a man, but I was. I was afraid of getting this shit and killing my people.
Let's just talk about the fact that already we're looking at prison sentences that don't actually line up for the offense. So that's the first thing.
Right.
The second thing is that you are given an extension of a prison term way beyond any sort of reasonable doubt. And so there are some documentations you have brought to light here so that people can see that this is not only unconstitutional, it is also illegal. And so let's start with this Stanworth, which is a terminology used by the California Department of Corrections that essentially says that anybody who is in prison before 1977, their parole date has to say the same. So his parole date was 72, like I showed you guys, 75, like I showed you earlier, which means that this law would have applied to him. But they completely ignored that. There's also a constitutional law, the one I had mentioned earlier, the 1985 amendment, that supports that same claim. And his recession hearing was in 1985, and he got out in 2023. Here is also the California Adult Authority, this is from the state of California, that a primary term will be fixed for each offense in conformance with these procedures and guidelines. Once fixed, the primary term for that offense cannot be refixed upward, okay? So to add that many years to something that shouldn't even have extended beyond 6 months for just an offense in prison, there's lots of shenanigans, I'm sure, that go on in prison. I think one of the least ridiculous stories I've heard is not wanting to share a cell with a notorious homosexual during the AIDS epidemic. But there's a specific reason that you were given this extension. Because go ahead and tell me about the sort of murderous people that get released, that you know about, and their offenses.
God.
Tell me about them. Tell the viewers about what goes on in our prison system.
One of the beautiful things, while I was in prison, this is why I was actually granted parole at my first hearing. I was serious about it. It took me 3 years to get clean of the drugs and everything and start realizing reality. I went back to the scriptures and started re-relating to God. And man, I wanted to be right. My first board hearing, I corrected myself sufficiently where they say, hey, man, you deserve parole. And they granted me parole the first time I went. Now, they later took my date for a jailhouse infraction, which I had already done 30 days in the hole for and all this. I'd paid already for it. I got a friend, well, I say a friend, a guy who I knew, who was a gangland biker, hitman, killed two, I think 2 people. And the board of prison term. This is in the this is in the paper. You can find this in the up in Frisco. He got out of Quentin. He said, I took a vow of non-violence. And he said, okay, we'll let you go. I'm an ordained minister in prison.
Got it. So you're saying if you bow to Big Brother, you can get out of prison.
If I do what Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego failed to do, I could go home. They even told me, look, I took 35 years on this 13-year term. And the board of prison terms told me, and this is code, everybody in prison understand this, all you old boys know what I'm talking about. The board of prison terms told me, Mr. Walden, and I'm imitating what he's saying, you have to learn to cooperate with SNAP. Code word for be a snitch. I mind my own business. I ain't winded. I ain't in none of yours. Do your thing. I'm not a correctional officer. Don't make me one. Don't hire me. How you gonna make me tell what other people do? This is ridiculous to me. And then what then if I don't perceive correctly? So now I just got you 13 years. I went and told somebody some shit that's a lie. I got you 13 years out of your because I misperceived something, and then I'm gonna claim I want to see God. Yeah, I want to see him as I'm going the other way because I don't want to see him face to face with that bullshit. My heart, I try to do what I believe God wants man to do on earth. Be a man, be strong, be courageous, be true to our Father, because everything else, in my estimation, is bullshit.
I think that's a solid standpoint, considering you had to turn to God in order to get the forgiveness that you need.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's kind of the point here, is that there's a very, very small window for people to actually get a second chance to this. And based on what you're telling me, you're still grateful that you're here today, right? And so this isn't an irregular story. The irregularity is that you were kept in prison specifically because you had some sort of problem with homosexuality.
Right.
And take a look at the culture that you live in now. We celebrate a whole month of pride in our country where this is a cardinal sin by any standpoint of the literature in which our country was founded upon. If you thought that, we didn't care about this sort of thing, we literally genocided the Incans and the Mayans to become a biblical country. So the people nowadays are basically saying, you know what? We wish we were more like the Incans and the Mayans. We want to do whatever it is that we want to do. Forget God, forget morality, forget all things good. And we've created a legal code, okay, which even within the most absurd legal code you've ever seen in your life. I don't know if you guys can see this, but that's a 5,140-page book. That's chapter 1,139. This is a picture of the status of California.
Senate Bill 42.
Yes, correct. And what it says here is that the legislator finds and declares that the purpose of imprisonment for crime is punishment. The purpose is best served by terms proportionate to the seriousness of the offense, with provision for uniformity in the sentences of offenders committing the same offense under similar circumstances. So, did Charles murder another person in order for him to go to prison 3 times the lengths than what he had already served? It's one thing to say that the justice that they had already put upon him was incorrect. There could definitely be a case made that he shouldn't have been allowed to live beyond his initial actions. Could have made a case. You could have made a case that he was supposed to be in there for 30 years. But that's not what happened. He got a 13-year case, and because of his particular disliking, which, by the way, I'm on board with you. I'm not a murderer, and I don't like homosexuals either. I'm not pro-tranny. I don't like the fact that our kids are being taught that they should get chemically castrated for free by the California government. I'm so disgusted I can't sleep at night. And it's a shame that other people can. And so to support you and to tell people what's going on, I've mentioned already 4 to 5 different unconstitutional and state codes, and I'm no professional. So wanted to introduce your story, and I want you now to talk about the sort of programming similar to 1984 that they pushed you through because of your particular disliking towards a more natural disposition?
They on this particular issue right here, they said, well, look. I told them, I said, look, just send me to the hole. This is up to the hole. The hole is solitary confinement.
Oh yeah, you don't want to
send me to the hole. The problem is solved. I don't want to hurt nobody. I got nothing against nobody, but you ain't gonna force me into a situation I don't want to be into. So they put me in a cell by myself for a couple of days while they figured it out. They took the gentleman that was in the cell. They took him out and left me alone, and then brought me another cellie 2 days later. Probably the gayest motherfucker on the yard. Flamboyant, in flames, aggressive, flaming. And look, I tell you the truth, man. I don't hate nobody, but I don't want no. I'm talking about for me. My life belongs to me. I don't want no part of this. This is you, man. If that's what you want to do, enjoy yourself. Just disinclude me. Don't force me into this shit. And that's what and then I packed my shit and went over again. And this time they actually took me to the hole. Brought me out, put me in the cell with a so-called regular guy, 6 months, no problem. Took me back and said, okay. The guy told me, he said, we're gonna take both your dates for what you did. And I think he was, I don't know. But he was really offended because I didn't understand it.
Yeah, because you're not conforming to this new ideology.
And I'm telling you, one of the best things I did, and I want to say it was an accident, but I don't believe in accidents. One of the best things I did, I got lucky one time and stumbled upon 2 books, 1984 and Animal Farm. And I got to live them both. Because I saw 1984. I saw how they would tell you if you want to go home, if you're assaulted, lay down. These are government officials. These are in official transcripts of prisoners that I know and have read with my own eyes. They would say, well, what if I get jumped on? They're complaining about his fight. What if I get jumped on? They say, lay down, roll into a fetal position, and wait for the police to come.
It's a magnet, by the way. You see this? You see that little spot? You just click it other way around.
And wait for the police to come.
I got you. Here you go.
So how long am I gonna be dead by the time they get there?
Well, you're
police it might be 30 minutes for the police. So I'm gonna do the African thing. I'm gonna give you 5 deaths because that's how much time I got to kill. I got time to kill you 4 or 5 times.
Well, they've gone much farther.
It's insane.
Just so you get an idea, majority of school shootings are done by mentally ill. There's a huge disproportion of transsexuals doing the shootings as well, which would point to the fact that it's a mental illness, which is what it is. But even beyond that, they put all these gun laws on people so that they cannot defend themselves. And there's these call times so that people cannot defend themselves. This doesn't make us safe. It's quite the opposite. And it's like, because I'm in California and I have to get my concealed carry and I can only have 10 bullets in a clip, right? Some mentally ill tranny with a machine gun it knows that he's got the right weapon to kill my ass and everybody else in the building.
And don't care.
So they do not care at all. It goes beyond that, but I appreciate you opening up. I'm going to ask you some more questions to go deeper into the sort of like programming there. But I also wanted to talk about your particular case because just so people get an understanding, I believe this here is an actual quotation of people talking to you, right?
Yes, this is the Board of Prison Terms speaking to me.
This is the Board of Prison Terms talking to him in 1985. I know you think where we're at. You know you've got to keep positive vein. Small 115s got you in a lot of trouble. A 115 is a misdemeanor, which is what he did.
Less than a misdemeanor, it's an infraction.
Then your psych report on 184, it's a good report. So they actually say that he's mentally sane as well. It's not as good as this last one, which means that this particular gray area is an issue. And you put yourself in a gray area because of your rescinding date and then your 115s. I see your PBR date is the closest, which is June of 88. And certainly you've lost all the good time because of your 115 so far. And you've got us in the middle right now, and I'm wondering maybe the best thing for you right now, if you don't get a date today, would be a Cat X. And that certainly would help you. We can ask some real good questions about you, and they might come back. it looks like you do real well in that situation with these questions answered. You put yourself again back in a real positive position because of those 115s, which are short term. Would you be willing to go do a Cat X if you don't get a date today? So you have actual officials quoting that he's supposed to get out in 88, which is clearly what didn't happen. And to support the fact that his psych report was good, you mentioned grades, you actually have a 3.83 GPA here from apparently Coastline Community College. So this is somebody who did turn himself around and was kept in prison because he had some pretty good ideologies that are trying to be erased in modern day. And all that it does is create voters to put people like that in these positions to keep this cycle going. And we, the people, are suffering because of this. So please go ahead and finish up your story. I think we're going to come up to a wrap pretty soon.
Yeah, but I want to say this because I heard you talking earlier about the economy and the youngsters. For me, it's terrible. I'm not, look, I'm fully 71. I'm in my 72nd year. I remember when gasoline was 19 cents a gallon.
19 cents.
How is that possible? In my life, if I was playing Russian roulette with an automatic, and you said to me, Red, will gasoline ever in your life reach $1? I'd have been out of here.
Yeah.
Because I'd have said, hell no, and that would have
Yeah.
$1. I would never imagine what they have done.
$7.
Man, it is the way the children, the way the young people are being treated is a shame, brother. They work them to death. They don't have time to think, to breathe, to enjoy life. Come on, rich people, y'all can do better than that. I ain't trying to hate on nobody. But y'all control everything. Man, let the people breathe a little bit, man. The people are struggling. I see it every day.
Well,
old people working, running for the bus. And, so then when I try to want to have a pity party, it don't last long. Half a second, I'm okay, reality, okay. All right. Man, I thank God.
Well, I like what you're on. Talk about the differences. To support him, by the way, in the early 1900s, the cost of the dollar nowadays, it's a $40 difference. So the cost of a dollar back in the early 1900s is what $40 is now. That's a 13,000% increase. I don't care what side of the fence you are, what weird sexual orientation you have, this affects all of us. And so please talk more about some of the differences you've seen from your generation up until now being released semi-recently.
It was like going from the Flintstones to the Jetsons. This is another blessing from our Father, man. That's how I see it all. I can't see it any other way. I actually saw the Flintstones turn into the Jetsons. I come out, they didn't have cell phones when I went in. None at all. And the first one they had was a shoebox. So, I got to see all that in person. I didn't experience it. Technology is forbidden to us. If I got caught with a cell phone in prison, at one time I may have done 15 years in the hole. Oh, and by the way, how do you think they got in? How can I sneak a cell phone in prison? I'm going to leave that for another day. However, it's just the system has gone crazy. In prison, man, murderers are catered to. You were talking about murderers. They cater to them. Mm-hmm. Because they control the population. They go around and have a terrorist board. The correction officers use them for power and control.
Well, this is going on in New York right now. So basically, Mamdani's this socialist scumbag Muslim who doesn't represent America in any way at all. I don't know how he was even elected. But he's taxing everybody unbelievably. First of all, New York's a major country in the United States of America. Like Virginia is essentially where everything was founded, right? And New York has been basically the greatest country other than potentially California, right? Which we have all the same issues. So I'm talking about the sort of regulations and taxations that exist here. This guy, why was I bringing him up?
About the 50% tax on when the people died, when we left the world, we owed the
He's taxing everybody on everything. But there was a particular reason. We'll fast forward. We'll kind of go on this one. Damn. Oh, yes, I do know what it is. They're paying $86,000 for homeless criminals to come live in New York. People are leaving New York, and the only people coming in because they want to turn all apartments into communes, which means that if you're not somebody who can work, you're somebody who has a drug addiction problem, you're somebody who's been an ex-criminal, a current criminal, they will house you and fund you to live in New York, making a higher median income than a hardworking legal citizen. Why in the world would Mom Donnie do that?
Wow.
Because he can buy himself votes.
Wow.
And he has. He's successfully become like the king of New York.
That's incredible.
We can't name the mayor of Wisconsin at the top of our mind, but everybody and their mother knows Mom Donnie, okay? And so this is being replicated here in California, another major country. Gavin Newsom and his insane wife run this place way beyond the president. This is something for people to know as well. A major, major point. The House of Representatives is the one who makes the decisions in the political frame. When it comes to the Constitution, there's the Congress and there's the House of Representatives that make the laws. They can ask the president to veto them. So if the president likes it, he can let it go. But if the president doesn't like it, it goes back to the House and back to the Congress, and then the House pushes it through anyways, which means that all these laws that we're upset about, we blame the president of the United States over, regardless of who the president is, it's not actually him who's making those laws. In Wisconsin, there is one person in the House of Representatives. There is 2-year terms. How many people are in the House of Representatives in California? Do you know?
I do not, but I know. I bet it's 30-something or more.
52.
Whoa.
52 people in the House of Representatives that have 2-year terms. I've lived here my whole life. I don't vote for 52 motherfuckers every year, okay? And so wake up, wake up. This guy is bad news, and the people, I'm just another person trying to do what fulfills me on a day-to-day, trying to make a business, do what helps me. I'm blessed to believe in God and the Bible. It gives me a cleaner view on life, a more realistic one. That's one that's backed in antiquity and history and heroes and legends. And you yourself have turned yourself around on that sort of belief. They banned 1984, they banned the Bible, and you got Gavin Newsom and his wife talking about showing kids porn in case they want to turn into trannies, and they'll fund the whole thing.
Wow. Wow.
It's really, really bad. It's really bad, and it's common knowledge.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And his wife came out. She's an absolute psychopath. It's hilarious. And I think this really wraps it up well. If you'd like to share one more thing, just to, maybe tell the viewers like how you ended up here on the show tonight and how you know me, so that people can help my organization to do the work that I'm doing to continue to speak the word.
Now, after 48 years and change, I got out of prison. Nobody told me where I was going. I had no idea when I came to LA. LA was not the same city. Almost 50 years different. Buildings changed, landscaping has changed. Damn near all of my family has died. That's what time does to people. So I come to LA, I got nobody. The state ain't really doing nothing for me, just telling me find this and do that and all that. So I go looking for help. And the hand of God guided me here. And these guys start working with me right off. And look, if you think the only person who don't need therapy after doing 48 years in a violent, insane environment is a person who was already crazy. Because if you went through that shit, you need, and it's free here. I don't have to pay for anything because I don't have money. I live off $1,200 a month. This is a huge help to me. I can come and I can train. And by the way, Mr. Mayweather, Mr. Tyson, I retired heavyweight champion. I wasn't defeated. They stopped the program. So if y'all want to holler, my man, come on down here. Come on down
I think
here.
that sounds more than all right. Y'all know where to find us.
Come,
right.
Hey,
God
be blessed,
bless you.
fellas. All right,
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Thank you
God
so
bless
much,
you.
Charles.
All right.
Thank you.
God bless
I'm going
America.
to go
Be
ahead
blessed, y'all.
and make a transition here.
Sorry,
Here.
brother.
No, you can go ahead and take that off. You can pass it to him. I'm going to kind of finish out this segment with something that I think is exciting and fun. I'd like to review a couple movies, and we'll see how that goes. Awesome. This is something that I've been doing ever since I was a child in California. I have a father who's been in the movie industry his whole life. I've been watching movies since I was a kid. And we love to talk movies and film. And I'm going to go with a quick couple synopsises on two films. I'm going to start with a horrible film, and then I'm going to talk about a really good one. So the horrible film, which I'm absolutely going to cook on, is the new Superman film, the 2025 Superman film with David Cornsweet. Corn Cob, whatever the fuck his name is, because damn, that guy is the worst Superman ever. He's handsome, he's a good actor, but boy, is he not Superman. And so let's start with the very opening of the movie, which is consistent all the way through, where Superman is going to lose every single battle. He's going to lose every battle. He's going to get beat up by everybody. And we start off with, oh, crypto, oh, the whole movie. My head was ringing after that thing. Oh my God. And so he has some sort of superpower to annoy you. And his dog, Crypto, is really the real superhero and is the only thing that gets everybody's heart because it's a dog. And so he's got beat up by villains, and he gets dragged back home by his dog. And then it basically cuts immediately to Lex Luthor beating him in a battle. He loses again. So the very strong, masculine Henry Cavill Superman is absolutely dead. And he's even got a monster he's got to handle in the city. He doesn't beat him. Other superheroes show up. He has like a hard time saving a squirrel. And shortly after that, Lex Luthor destroys his home. He ridicules him. It's not even like he's got a good at-home life. Lois Lane really wipes the floor with Superman. Like, who could be in a relationship with Superman? Like, how hard could that be? You know, she's like, oh, I'm not good at relationships. She's like interviewing him and telling him things like, she brought up an offensive hashtag for him. She called him like shit, something like that, you know, and he basically is. He's just bitch boy, you know, and he's got a bad at-home relationship. Lois Lane's super feminist. There's kind of like this whole like Benjamin Netanyahu Palestine thing going on the side that never really makes any resolution or any sense. At the same time, he gets captured because he can just like, he'll actually give himself in. There's like what looks like Black Noir from The Boys, like smashing his face into the concrete. Take him into Lex Luthor's prison as he almost dies in prison. And basically, why is he in prison? To go save his dog. Again, everything revolves this fucking dog. And there's like a weird side tangent that Lex Luthor's like model girlfriend is for some reason into the weird nerdy guy at the Daily Planet. Like, okay, he's got like some weird comment that she's like got weird toes or something like that. Like, I don't want to hear this shit. Keep it in the bedroom, people. This is fucking weird. The Daily Planet's like super porny. You got like that one girl with her boobs out. Let's see. Oh yes, he barely wins the battle again. His dog and other people save him. And then he destroys the whole city because he's an absolute fuck up. And he loses against himself. And he has a clone that's about to kill him. And who saves the day? The dog. And so there you go for Crypto and Superman. That is my review. Giving it a 3.0 because like Black Adam has a cool little scene where he does what Superman can't do, which is be cool. And, you know, he's so human because he listens to punk rock. So that's my review on Superman, giving it a 3.0. I do want to give, I'm just going to go for it, an absolute 10. Adrian Brody, Oscar winner for The Pianist, phenomenal actor, is in this film called Detachment. If you haven't seen Detachment, I highly recommend you go ahead and watch it. I think it's super relevant. It's super touching. It's eerie and uncomfortable, which I think a lot of people could relate to. Adrian Brody is wonderful in the film. He plays a school teacher, and this school teacher has a difficult life. The school system is difficult. The kids are delinquent. They're mean. They're depressed. And he's got some troubles in the home, seem to be related to his mother and his grandpa, who is still alive. His mother seems to have passed with a drug overdose, and there's a potential molestation that could have happened to her, to him, who knows. But ultimately, this man is taking care of his senile grandfather, and amongst being in a school system alone, taking care of all of these very disconnected kids, and he stumbles upon a 14 or 13-year-old girl who's made herself a prostitute on the streets, and he decides to take her in. And she has only been abused her whole life, and so she doesn't really know what to make of this whole situation, and she even tries to give herself over to him, but he refuses her even then. And the whole idea is that this man is detached from his emotions, but he really is extremely emotional. He's extremely empathetic. He's the type of person that I think most people should be, because life really is that difficult and it's that hard. And he ends up changing that girl's life around. He ends up being there for a student in school, and I think it represents the sort of culture that we live in very, very well, where, you know, a lonely student who ends up committing suicide by the end of the film is ostracized for giving him a hug because she admires this teacher, and that one of the other teachers sees a student giving a teacher a hug and instantly jumps to sexual allegations, which I think very much even ties back into my earlier discussion about 1984 sort of dystopian future that we live in. Anyways, wonderful, wonderful film. If you want to be touched by wonderful acting, wonderful story, and I think it has a really strong moral core, please watch Detachment. That's the end of my show for tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.